Turn back. There you go.
And I obviously feel uncomfortable given the people who could be speaking at this time being the one speaking. I feel a little like the Texan. Some of you have heard this joke. The Texan who was told that he could go to the North Pole and do some polar bear hunting. He was very anxious to do that. Went up there, tried to get some guides, got some Eskimos to be guides for him. He said, "Look, let's go out and catch some polar bear." And they said, "Well, fine. We're going to start sharpening our knives and our hooks and our nets and all that." And he said, "What do you mean? Where I come from in Texas, you go out and you grab the polar bear, you grab the bear, break their neck, and that's what you want to do." So they stayed behind, sharpening their knives and getting their hooks and all that stuff ready. And he's outside the igloo somewhere doing something, and after a while they heard this sound. Oh, they listened more carefully. Oh, they went outside and opened the door and looked out and listened more carefully and said, "What's that sound?" "Open the door." And they could see this guy running down the hill, and behind him is a huge polar bear, arms outstretched. He came running up to the front door of this igloo. These guys had gone back inside, the door's open. He came right to the front door, and just as he got to the door, polar bear right behind him, ready to grab him. He steps aside. Polar bear goes in the igloo. He slams the door and says, "You skin that one while I go get another one." so I feel a little like the Texan. Here's this guy who comes in wearing the white shirt and all, and you guys are skinning this one. Well, I'm going to go out and try and see if we can find another store site, and another store site, another one. We can do it time and time again. First of all, I should tell you a little bit about what a venture capitalist is, and some people call us vulture capitalists, but the term's probably appropriate. We're given a bunch of money by other people, and they give us, we go around and we try and convince people that we're real smart and we're making money with their money, and they give us some of their money, and then we take that money and invest it in new companies, things that we think have a great deal of potential for growth. That's how it supposedly works. Now, we see about 25 new companies a week. Management ideas come by our office, and that's true for the other investors, other venture capital investors in Staples. And these ideas come by, and that's 250 or so a month, and we invest on average on about 1 in 500 of those businesses that come by. So in a year, we might invest in 6 companies if we're lucky. Some years 3, 4, 5, up to maybe 6. So not very many companies that come by with ideas and business plans do we ever invest in, and that's true for the other people in this business as well. Let me tell you about what happened when Tom and Leo came by with the business plan for this. By the way, most people who have a new idea go to a venture capitalist and they assume the appropriate position on their knees. Have you got some money from my company? And by far and away, the large portion of them never do, except we have for Staples. Here's what we plan on doing. And then we spent a little time looking at the business plan, looking at the people that he'd already put together, looking at the record behind the people. And we said, okay, we're ready to play. This sounds like a good idea. We got to the door to tell him that, and there were already 20 other people standing in line. The idea was absolutely mobbed by venture capitalists. Everyone said, that's an idea I want to be a part of. Tom had to go through and say, okay, eeny, meeny, miny, moe, which one of the guys who wants to participate in this idea am I going to bring in to Staples? And he chose 4 out of the group. And then he also had to tell the 4, by the way, you none can invest as much as you want to. He had to cut us all back to 1/2 what we planned on investing because he had too much interest. And so we cut. I've never and I've only been in the business 2 or 3 years, but those who've been in amongst the group for 10 years had never seen a situation quite like this one. Why is that? Why was it that this investor, like you investors, decided that this was something worth putting some heart and soul into, or money? Well, first of all, you look at the market and you do an analysis of the market and you say it's a huge market, billions of dollars. That sounds good. Number 2, you look at, can this be something more than just one store? Can it be something big? And you say, gosh, if it works in Boston and you got 3 or 4 stores here, then you can do it in New York and you can do it in Hartford and Springfield. This can be 100 stores. So it looks like it can be something big. And then you look at the people behind it. And at the time Tom first came around, there was not only Tom, but there was Leo, but there was also Paul, and there was Bob, and there was Myra, and a group was coming together of people who were exceptional people, exceptional not only from sitting down and talking to them, but also as you look at the record of what they had done before, you say this is quite a group. And those sorts of things jumped up in our mind. Gee, it's specialty retailing. But the other part was, it's specialty retailing where you're giving a business person some real value. Some real value. I spoke this morning with a guy who had an idea about 15 years ago, which was to let people buy stuff in airports without having to pay duty for it, because they were going to be going somewhere where you wouldn't have to charge duty. So he started something called duty free. Any of you been in an airport where they have duty free? His company sells $1 billion worth of product a year. The guy lives relatively well. There's another idea that one of the investors in this group had, something called Business Land Computers. Another company, $1 billion today, and that's only 2 or 3 years later. I spoke not long ago with a guy named Bill Marriott Jr. Now that was a long time ago, but another idea. Let's provide value to business buyers. Let's give them high quality at relatively reasonable cost. Now we all aspire, we all aspire to be there someday, but there are some success stories in people who've taken the idea of bringing value to business buyers that made those of us who were investors say, gee, this looks pretty interesting. I mentioned that I had a chance to talk to Bill Marriott. I'm wondering and thinking, why is it what can we learn from their success? And I once asked him, why is it that you picked the strategy you had? What is the strategy of Marriott Corporation? And now that we all should get a very handsome return on it, and we also should have a great time doing it. So I'm looking forward to a lot of fun. Thanks.
Ian, who's kind enough to join us.